Hello, welcome to another SonicLAB. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but Christmas and whatnot seemed to get in the way. So yes, it's the Dreadbox Erebus version 3. Well, the Erebus Mark III or version 3 is larger, it's much bigger, and they've actually changed the manufacture process because originally Dreadbox were all handmade through hole, and you know, it seemed like you could really tell the difference between the sound, or maybe not tell the difference, but just the fact that it seemed to coincide with the fact that they sounded really good. The original Erebuses, there's something about them, I think they sound fantastic. You know, the oscillators themselves just sound lovely, and there's something about the filter as well. With the Erebus version 3, they've moved to surface mount technology so they can keep up with demand, because they've been very, very successful and people really dig their synths, and they've not been able to make them fast enough, so they've changed the way that it works. But the layout is similar, but it's sort of larger format. We've got two oscillators, similar sort of layout to oscillators, dual-wave oscillators, but we've also got this triple ring which is a three-way ring mod between these two oscillators and the third oscillator, which is a new thing. This is a multi-wave oscillator, but it also goes right down into LFO territory. And I'm actually using it in LFO mode to modulate the pitch in this patch. There's also a dedicated LFO. Also, this thing obviously can be used to modulate at very high audio rates. In fact, we've got an dedicated FM here as well. We've got the same or similar filter, which this is a state variable 2-pole filter, but it's got a really lovely sound to it. The previous Erebus did, and this is slightly different. It goes through low pass, band pass to high pass. We've got two envelopes. Full ADSR envelope, so this is been expanded from the original Erebus. One of them also loops, and then we've got the echo. There was a delay on the original, but it's a little bit sort of grungy and crunky. This was a little bit more quality, and it's got more sort of finite controls to it, so you've just got a bit more tweakability. Plus, obviously, you've got this patch bay. There's a rather fulsome patch bay, which gives us lots of inputs and outputs, plus a load of interesting kind of mults and a clockable switch, sample and hold, and pulse width modulation available on oscillator 3 as well as on oscillator 1. So, as you know, I really like the sound of the Erebus. In fact, they had the original Erebus which was the Mark II, which I reviewed, had the dubious honour of being the first time we'd ever had neighbours complain when I was reviewing it, and that really sort of supports the notion of these kind of really nice beefy oscillators. Before I get into all of that kind of, you know, scopes and what the oscillator sounds like, I've got this patch that I made, which I've tuned a bit like it's a bit like a cello. So I've got a fourth between the oscillators, and if I switch to this, you'll be able to see. And I bring the ring mod in, which sounds really lovely, and then I'm using the LFO to drop some pitch. Whoops. I really like the sound of this. Then, because it's duophonic, I've got some echo on there as well. Now, I don't normally start with a demo like that, but it's because I just found this sound and I was playing some riff, and I just wanted to get that in now before I forgot what the settings were, because obviously I'm now going to reset it all and show you what the oscillators sound like. So let's take a look. Similar layout to the original Erebus. We've got two oscillators, which are blended via this slider here. I think it was a knob on the original, plus this triple ring, a bit more on that. So let's start with sawtooth. Quick look at the scope. Good, a nice low fundamental on that. And also the other thing that's really cool about this is we've got plus or minus 10 semitones on the tune, which on the originals it didn't really go quite far enough, so it's nice to have like a much wider range, so you can tune to fifths or whatever you might want to do. So also got a square wave on the oscillator 1, which has got, again, that lovely thick buzzy sound. If I bring up the scope, you can see it's got a really nice, plenty of low end there, and then we can dial in a bit of pulse width modulation. As you know, I'm fond of that. So it doesn't go through 0, that's the depth control there. Oscillator 2, we've got triangle, which again has got a really nice solid fundamental in there, plenty of weight if you need to add that to your sound. Plus we've got the sawtooth again. The other thing that's really cool about these is we've got this triple ring. The triple ring, now if I take both of these off, in fact, there's a ring mod between oscillator 2 and oscillator 1. And then if we go to the triple ring 1 to 3, got some really nice kind of rich harmonic tones there. I mean, yes, we haven't got oscillator sync, but we've got the ability to create some really nice stuff. So now oscillator 3 is kind of where all the new stuff is at. This is a multi-wave oscillator with ramp up, ramp down, square, triangle, sine, double saw and noise, and it's got a very wide range and can be used as an LFO as well. So turn that down, maybe bring so we've got the ability to create a much more complex oscillator. We've got coarse and fine tune here. We can obviously listen to this guy. And it's nice that we've got the noise in there as well. But the other thing that's cool about this is we can use this to FM the other oscillators. So if I switch this into a sine, a triangle, and go to sine wave here. Maybe add a bit of delay. Maybe we go to square wave and add a bit of pulse width. Take the filter down. Got all of those extra FM tones that we can bring into the mix as well. So that oscillator 3 is the real sort of the new feature in terms of the basic oscillators that adds a lot of extra tonal palette to the Erebus 3. Or of course you could just stack them up. Some big beefy sounds. Which I guess brings us onto the filter, because the filter on the Erebus was also a thing of joy. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so let's start with the traditional sawtooth through the filter. Now this filter, I think I said it was bandpass. It actually goes from high pass, from low pass through to high pass, so I beg your pardon. It's a 2-pole filter and it has that same Erebus quality that just get it low. Sounds kind of like a 4-pole filter, but it is a 2-pole filter, because when you bring the resonance up, it doesn't lose the bottom end. But as you can hear, it's got those massive rumbling low harmonics. And again, you know, wouldn't be surprised if the phone rings and the neighbours say, "What on earth are you doing in there?" But for me, it still has that Erebus quality, and that's the thing. You know, as long as the oscillators and the filter kind of still have that Erebus thing, then we're golden. And as far as I can hear, It does. It's got that lovely, yes, I'm going to say it, sing-song harmonics. And once you start adding in extra waves, let's try that on the square wave. It's got that lovely, yeah, I mean, it does that thing, and I'm pleased with the filter, and I must say, you know, that's good news. Couple of things, the envelope, this envelope here is automatically routed to the filter. And it goes quite snappy. And this envelope also loops. Though it doesn't go as high into audio rates as some looping envelopes. It'd be nicer if that had gone right up there, but we could always use oscillator 3 if you want a bit of audio rate mod by patching the output into the filter input. In fact, while we're here, let's take a closer look at this patch bay. We've got the CV gate output, so this is the gate, the mod wheel output, envelope output, and the CV output. LFO, oscillator 3 output noise, we've got a VCA here, a sample and hold with external clock, a switch, an XYZ switcher which is clockable, that's actually quite useful, a clock module, and then the inputs here are the 3 CVs, the master CV, pulse width, echo, because we've got the echo, we can modulate the echo time, gate input, cut off resonance. I would like to have seen, if possible, the ability to actually access the individual signals for the oscillator. So for instance, oscillator 1 and 2 coming up as audio outputs here, because that into this clocking gate would have been quite useful. I'll give you a quick look at what this clocking gate does. So let's just patch that up. So we're going to go out of the clock output into the switch. So this will be basically providing the rate for the clock switch. Will come out of the noise. We've got dedicated noise output, go into input Y, out of oscillator 3 and go into input X, and then out of Z and into, I'll move that up a little bit, the filter. You can hear it's switching with this clock rate. And we can change the, as we take the rate down, the duty cycle. Perhaps not the best audio example, but imagine if that had the 2 oscillators going into it and we had alternating pitches, we could create some very interesting effects there, and with the duty cycle. It's a useful module to have. I guess also what we could do is we could modulate, which is what I was going to get onto, we can modulate the filter to get that talking filter sound, because we would attenuate the amount of modulation. So let's see if we can get that to happen. So I'm going to come again and use oscillator 3 again. I'm going to go into the VCA, then I'm going to come out of the, let's go back to my close-up, I'm going to come out of the mod output and go into the control voltage of the VCA. Then I'll come out of the VCA and go into the cut-off modulation, which is down here. So yeah, now if I press my note and I've got my, this is controlling the level of modulation into the filter. So now I should be able to get a talking filter. Yeah, so there we go. Let's put a bit of echo in. Just getting. So the patch bay, while not totally fully featured, not giving you everything you want, this gives you quite a lot of possibilities. And these utility modules, such as the extra VCA, the sample and hold, and the switching with the clock, is kind of useful for patching up things that would be slightly outside the scope of just a regular subtractive synthesizer. Again, I'm getting to like this more and more now, seeing the patch bay on the right hand side, so you get unfettered access to the front panel of an instrument. One last thing we should look at here is the echo. We've got that fully sort of tape style, but I think it's Bucket Brigade, and it does sound higher quality than the original Erebus. In fact, we can modulate this stuff. Let's just get something going on. I've got this patch set up here actually, so if I just take the delay down, we can see we've got a using the filter envelope here to create a bit of envelope, and it's worth mentioning it's actually re-trigger. There's no legato mode on this envelope, and that's just the way it is. So I'm going to bring the echo in, and what I'm doing is I'm using the VCA with no control input, so I'm just using a level, and I'm coming into modulating the echo, sort of octave pitch amount. So if I now play this, you can hear we could do some really nice things with the echo. It takes a little bit of setting out. Obviously you don't get kind of CV voltage tracking on the echo time, but some nice things. So overall, I think the Erebus definitely passes the does it sound like an Erebus test. It has the same level of charisma, I think. I don't think that through-hole switch to a different manufacturing process has made a jot of difference, apart from the fact that it's now cheaper, or at least you get more for the same price. Because this is 459 UK pounds, which is round about, I mean, in the ballpark figure of the previous Erebuses. So you're getting a lot more synth here, more patch bay, an extra oscillator, extra envelope, slightly more variable filter, plus high quality echo, and all of these little utilities for essentially the same price as the version 2. So they've passed on this manufacturing process savings to the end customer. Now, having said that, the Erebus V3, I've just been told by Yanis, was out of stock for a little while. It should be coming back in stock sometime shortly after this, but in my opinion, it follows on from the original sort of Dreadbox Erebus vibe. It still has that thing, and it can shake the room as much as you like. So if you're after an analog synth, desktop synth with a lot of character and a bit of charisma, which is what I think the Erebus does, then it's well worth checking out. That's it for this time. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Mm-hmm.